Welcome mates, I'm Bloodthirsty Lord by Incoming Lordy, and today we're back on Paragon. There's going to be a whole bunch of gameplays running in the background from the version 42 update, which will be live right now, or most likely in the next coming days. You may should be seeing some banners, Chimera, and also several gameplay in the background. Obviously, I had some mistakes in there because I had 350 ping, so please, no judgerino and no ripperino in the chat. Please, because, you know, it's hard living that 350 ping life in those NA servers when I'm from Oz, so please no judge on that. Also, the idea for this video is to teach you guys how to make the best deck and build within version 42. So pretty much a guide for the jungler role. So this is a universal jungle role. You'll be able to use this deck or build on all your junglers and it will work pretty darn well. So I've used it on two different junglers within this video, which is Chimera being pretty much the assassin type of jungler, and then you have Sevrog being that tanky CC character. And they were both able to utilize this build in a certain way, making them super effective and not making them have any type of weakness. So we've got a lot of juicy information to cover within this video, but before we get into this video, make sure you smash that bloody like button. Let's try to get 200 likes on this video. Make sure to become part of the Patreon family to get exclusive rewards and first looks at my builds, and also be part of the Discord family where we have a lot of fun there. You can do so. The link to that will be in the description below if you want to become a Patreon member to gain those rewards. So without further ado, let's get straight into this. Within this deck, we have 12 cards, 6 gems, and 2 affinities, as majority of people will have in any of the decks, because the more cards you have, the more gems and affinities that you use, the more stuff you're gonna have. That's how it works. So 2 affinities are Death and Chaos. Death is formerly known as Corruption, and Chaos is formerly known as Fury. Now they've changed and they've become unique in their own way. Obviously they were unique before, but they're still unique now, and there's like so many amazing stuff within that type of categories or affinities that you can pick from when using certain cards in the jungle role. So make sure to pick up those 2 affinities, Death and Chaos, when creating this deck. Now we're going to move on to the card section. We have 12 cards being picked. The first card is called Living Guardian in the Chaos affinity. It's a level 1 card at the moment. Obviously you can upgrade these cards, but they won't change anything in the PvE game mode. It takes 1 vitality point to be used in order to catch this card or use this card within your deck. The passive for this card is called Fortifying Strikes. Basic attack hits grants a stack of 2 basic armor for 10 seconds. This effect can stack up to 10 times, and pretty much you can gain 20 basic armor at max stacks for 10 seconds, which is pretty good in the early game stages of a fight, because anytime a fight you're going to go into, base attacks are the main form of damage early game. So you'll be able to nullify some of that damage that is incoming towards you while you're fighting in a 1v1 or against an enemy opponent when you try to gank their lane. But also the key for this item is to get as many base attacks as possible on the enemy in order to stack that to max stacks. The next card part of the deck is called Color of the Week, and this is a passive card, level 1, and it's for the Death affinity. It gives you the passive of Execute Minions. Basic attacks execute enemy minions below 20% max health. So this helps with early game wave clear, because wave clearing in this game meta right now in version 42 is pretty hard with majority of heroes in the jungle. But this helps out so much and just speeds up your clear times within the jungle, so you're able to pretty much be over the map constantly and be able to gank and get the river buffs and be able to wreak havoc non-stop towards the enemies. And the requirement for equipping Color of the Week is 1 agility point. Now we move on to the card called Blitz Rush, which is a very interesting mobility card that you need 2 agility points and 2 intellect points, followed up by the active of this card being Executioner's Dash. Dash forward 1000 units, hero kills, reset the card's cooldown, 50 mana usage, and 60-second cooldown. And this card is just really great if you're trying to get kill resets, and it works well on like assassin-like characters, so that's why you go for this option. So then you'll be able to get a kill, reset, and use that ability or the card ability once again. And this will provide 16 attack speed as well. Pretty good. The next card that we do have is called Nitro Boost with 11 attack speed and also the active of Sprint. Gain 125 move speed for 3 seconds, 0 mana usage, and 12-second cooldown. And this is really great just to gain that mobility for ganking with your jungler when you're using this jungle build, and also to get out of sticky situations or even engage in situations that you want to engage in. It will take 3 agility points to purchase this card. The next card that we do have is called Compensated Rig. Gives you 20 power and 385 health. The passive is called Desperate Strikes. Do 1 additional basic damage for every 60 missing health. So the more health that you are missing, the more damage you're going to do through basic damage. This will cost 3 agility points and 10 vitality points in order to purchase it. Then we move on to one of the most interesting death cards out there, and that is called Veil Stepper. This gives you 8.8% health regen and also 18 basic armor, and the passive is called Smoke Screen. Enter Shadow Plane for 3 seconds after passing through a fog wall, cooldown 5 seconds. To purchase this you need 4 agility points and 2 vitality points in order to get it, and this is just a very good way to gank and be in a fight with a surprise. So Veil Stepper is a very good option. Also makes a lot of options to go with in this deck when it comes to pathways, and we will talk about those at the very end of this video. The next card is called Hellfire Engine, which costs 7,000 coins or gold, and also provides you with a passive of Savagery. Gain 100 basic damage, which is pretty much increasing your DPS with this item. The next card is called Heavy Hitter, part of the Chaos Affinity. 8 agility points are needed to purchase this card. Provides you with 16 power, 16 attack speed. With a passive, Powerful Strikes. Basic damage is increased by 15%. And you can start to see some type of synergy within the build to increase your damage output with this option. The next card is called Vampiric Blade. It costs 9 agility and 4 vitality points in order to purchase it. Will provide you with 15 power, 20 attack speed, 240 health, and also an active called Overflowing Feast. Gain 150% lifesteal for 3 seconds, 100 mana usage, and 75-second cooldown, with a passive of 10% lifesteal. And this card is just good for keeping sustain throughout fights, especially when you go with the damage side of this build. This does help out so much. Then we have the card Numbing Rogue. You can purchase this card for 2 agility points and 7 vitality points, providing 12 power and 36 basic armor. The passive is called Debuff Aura, attack speed. Nearby enemies have their attack speed slowed by 25%. And this is just great, just to slow down the enemy players' time to kill towards your team members just by being close to them when you go for the tanky route of this build. Because many players will build a lot of agility, which increases their attack speed, but then you're reducing that by 25%. So it's just a great card. The next card is called Unstable Cyborg, providing 70 power, 47 physical armor, and also the passive of Reactive Burst. 20% chance to deal 125 ability damage to all nearby enemies when taking damage. 0.4 second cooldown. To purchase this card, you need 4 agility points and 8 vitality points. And this card is just great. If you're building a tanky around this character, this just helps, because every time you're close towards the enemy, as say Sevrog, and you get this to proc, it does 125 ability damage, and that isn't too bad when you're a full tank, or pretty much really tanky. And the last card is called Thone Yomi, and this is a really interesting card. It takes 2 agility points and 6 vitality points to purchase, then it provides you with 10 power and 31 basic armor, and the active on this card is called Counter Attack. Returns 65% of the damage taken for 4 seconds, mana is 75, and also the cooldown is 30 seconds. And this is pretty good because if you're building tanky and you're pretty much the frontline tank, you're going to take in damage. But once you activate this, that damage is returned to the enemies that did do that to you. 65% of that, and that isn't too bad. So that completes the card section of this video. Now let's move on to the gem side of this video, which is a new system integrated into the deck and building system within Paragon in version 42. So let's start off with the agility attribute. And the gems that we have in there are Auto Health Potion, which is one of the rank 1 tier gems in that system. You gain 4.9 health regen for 9.2 seconds when you fall below 50% max health. Obviously, Health Potion is pretty great. At rank 3 within the agility pool, we do have Lifesteal, and this provides you with 3.7 attack speed and 6.1% lifesteal. Now let's move on to the vitality side. We do have a level 1 gem that is called Jungle Lifesteal. Basic attacks restore 2.5 health against jungle minions for early game sustain. Works out pretty good. Then we move on to the rank 2 gem, and that is called Damage Reduction. Reduce basic damage taken by 6.1%. And this is great because you're building tanky, you're able to take less damage. So it just works out really well. And then at rank 5 within the vitality tree, we have Avenging Spells. Provides you with 69.5 health and 2.3% health regen. When hit by an enemy base attack, your cooldowns are reduced by 0.2 seconds. So if I'm that frontline tank and I'm playing Sevrog, if I'm taking damage, especially ability damage or basic damage, depending on which gem I've went for, but this one obviously I went for the base attack. So if I do take enemy base attacks, my cooldowns are reduced, meaning that I can use my abilities more often. May even pull off 2 ults within one fight, which is pretty crazy. Then move on to the intellect side of things. We do have 1 point or the 1 rank gem in here called Auto Shield. Gain 61.4 shield for 2.5 seconds when you fall below 25% max health, 85.6 seconds cooldown. And this is just great because if you're doing a 1v1 in the early game, there's procs while you're doing the 1v1 alongside your health potion, you most likely will end up winning that fight, because most likely the person you're versing won't have 2 early game gems, or 3 in this case, since we have 1 in each category. And that completes the gem side of things. And now let's move on to the pathways that you can take when using this deck in your gameplay experience on the hero that you've chosen within the jungle role. And obviously this is kind of a universal look on the jungle role, so any character that you desire to play in that role can work with this build. So at the start of the game, you want to put a point into the Vitality Tree. By putting 1 point into there, you'll be able to pick up the Living Guardian card as well, which will help you nullify damage from the jungle minions that are affecting you as you clear those early waves. And since you've contributed a point into the attribute Vitality, you're getting health and health regen stats increase, while also activating your gem, the Jungle Lifesteal, which means every time you land a base attack, you're gaining health back. So pretty much in the early game, you shouldn't be able to die, but the wave clear time, it will be kind of slow, but at least you'll be able to survive from the enemy minions that you're doing within that wave clear, so you're able to have somewhat a decent health before you go for a gank or help out one of your teammates. Then once you go on your first back to the base, you want to try and pick up Call of the Week card, which will provide you with a execute passive on minions once they're under 20% health within the jungle. So it's really great, and it does help us so much with wave clear, but also since you put a point into agility, you gain more attack speed, and you would have activated your auto health pot function of that gem, which means once you reach under a certain percent of health, you're going to activate that gem to gain your health back. Then depending on your playstyle, you can choose between Blitz Rush, Nitro Boost, or Compensator's Rig, depending on what's going on in that current game that you're having. If you want a certain card, you'll choose which one that you desire. Majority of the time, I end up going with the Nitro Boost card because that's the safest option, or I can go with the other card called Blitz Rush. I don't really use Compensator's Rig as much, but it does help out at certain times. And also try to put a point into the Intellect attribute in order to activate your Auto Shield gem, which is an early 1-point card and will help out within fights. So pretty much at this stage, you're in the mid-game stages of Paragon, and you want to try to get the card Veil Stepper and also activate your Lifesteal gem or your Damage Reduction gem, depending on which option that you want in that current game. If you want to build more Vitality, you would go for the Damage Reduction gem as soon as possible to build pretty much be more tanky, or you can go for the Lifesteal gem on the agility side to get more lifesteal and attack speed. At the same time, you're discarding Color of the Week because at that stage you should be able to clear waves pretty decently and you don't really need that card. And now you have to make the big boy choice. Do you go for the damage side of things, or do you want to go for the tanky side of things? So there's going to be two options here. Let's explain the damage side of things. So when you go on your 5th back, or pretty much pick up your 5th card, there'll be Hellfire Engine, and this time you'll be discarding the Living Guardian card. So you can use Hellfire to increase your basic damage output by 100, and then the next card that you'll get is Heavy Hitter, and that will increase your basic damage overall by 15%. And at this stage, you don't really need Veil Stepper because you won't be a ganky as much, so just discard that option. And the last card that you'll pick is Vampiric Blade, provide you with lifesteal and pretty much helps you sustain within fights, and also since you're doing so much damage, you should be able to receive more lifesteal back. Vampiric Blade will replace one of the cards that you chose before at the 3rd stage of pretty much mid-game stages, the Blitz Rush or Nitro Boost or Compensator's Rig, whatever you chose, replace that with Vampiric Blade. Then proceed to put in points into the Vitality Tree and hopefully complete the damage reduction and also avenging spells, gems, and at that point you pretty much completed the core part of the build, and then you can put any points into any attribute that you want. Could be intellect, could be agility or vitality. Majority of the time, you just want to keep putting points into vitality until it reaches that 25-point cap within the attribute system, and then move on to the agility side of things. And if somehow you end up maxing that, then move on to the intellect side of things. But majority of the time, you won't be able to get 25 gems in each attribute points because it just takes too long, and most likely the game is over by then. So that is the core damage build. Let's go back 3 cards and let's talk about the second option that you do have, which is the more tanky build. So after completing the Veil Stepper side of things, you move on to the next card, and that is called Numbing Rogue. And this card is just very unique. Gives some very interesting stats, but also reduces 25% of attack speed. The majority of people will be building agility or making builds with a lot of agility, meaning they have a lot of attack speed. If you reduce 25% of that, making their time to kill even less and harder for them to do it, you're pretty much achieving quite a bit with one card, and that's why Numbing Rogue is such a great card, and it's my tanky build. And this card will replace the Living Guardian card. Let's move on to the next card, and that is called Unstable Cyborg. And this card is interesting because it provides you with AoE damage while also being tanky. So it does proc, it has like 20% chance of proccing, you do 125 ability damage. And this works really well if you're sticking like glue towards their carries, and then obviously they have to try and hit you, and once they do that, there's a slight chance that it will proc and do damage towards everyone around you. That's really great. So that's a card I have to pick and have to use within my build. And at this stage, you have discarded Veil Stepper. The last card that you pick up a part of the tanky build is Thorn Yomi, if that's how you pronounce it. Pretty much this card is a counter attack card. The damage you take at that moment for 4 seconds, you'll be able to return that towards the enemies that did that. 65% of that damage is returned to them. And it's a great card because if you're a frontline tank, usually if you make the enemy team focus you, you're taking a lot of damage. So by using this card, you're returning all that damage back towards them. 65% of it, and that's quite a bit. And most likely, you might even kill people with that. And Thorn Yomi will replace your 3rd option card that you chose, which would have been the Blitz Rush, Nitro Boost, or Compensator's Rig. And also, you're trying to activate the damage reduction gem and also avenging spell gem at this moment. And then you can put points into any attribute you want depending on how long the game is going for, and hopefully you should be able to win the game very soon without capping in all attribute points. And that completes the tanky side build, or the cool tanky side build. Oh my god, mates, I'm exhausted. That was a lot of information to talk about. This build, I spent a lot of time trying to think about it and make it as great as possible with all the knowledge that I know at the current moment, and pretty much with my game time that I had with this build. I played quite a bit with it, and it works out pretty well in the majority of my game times that I played with it. And this build will work on any jungler that you want to use, because I thought about the role more than a selected hero, so I used it on 2 different heroes like Chimera and Sevarog, which are completely different in the way they jungle, but they both worked really effective with this build. So you can use this on any hero that you desire within the jungle role. But mates, as always, in the comment section down below, tell me your opinions and thoughts on this build and this guide. Did you like it? Do you hate it? Do you like how in-depth I get in certain aspects? Or do you want me to go a little bit loose on some things and not go explaining each card one by one, and maybe just say the card instead and then go into how it works with my knowledge, instead of explaining the cards then go into it through the pathways and everything? Tell me your opinions and thoughts in the comment section down below, because obviously within version 42 there's a lot of information that has to be talked about, which are cards, gems, affinities, and if you guys want me to reduce on some of that information and just focus on other stuff, like just on the pathway itself and how to use it, then I'll do so. So tell me your opinions and thoughts in the comment section down below. So mates, if you did enjoy this video, show us by smashing that below like button. Let's try to get 200 likes on this video. Mates, want to see more Paragon gaming content, Fortnite gaming content, and gaming content in general on my channel, all you have to do is share with your friends and hit the subscribe button to become a mate today. And that is all for this video. Oh, time to go, but don't you worry. Back very soon. It's out, boys, because you ain't seen nothing yet. Mates, I'm done, mates. Oh my god. That was insane, and this build is so glorious. And once you use it, mates, you'll feel the epicness of you destroying your enemies with all these amazing cards I put into this build. It's a wonderful time.